Good afternoon and welcome to Have a Chat. I'm your host, Audrey Lynch, with my wonderfully, beautifully stunning co-hosts, Veronique Arsenault and Judy Losier. Good afternoon, ladies.
I love it. I love it. I love it. You just make my Monday.
I will bribe you with chocolate later.
Yes.
Hi,
To all our
Audrey,
viewers,
back to you.
to all our viewers, we are all dressed in red because we, of course, we record our show now ahead of time and air it. So we have just celebrated Valentine's Day. So this was not coordinated.
Yep.
We did not know that each of us was going to be wearing red. So love you too,
I love,
Judy.
love, 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 love,
love.
love,
Definitely. Yeah. So, like I said to our viewers, thanks for joining us. We have a great show lined up for you today. But we're going to start off our show with our quote, like we usually do. And I believe, Veronique, you are the one with the quote for today.
I do. And of course, in deference to the fact that it is Valentine's Day today, of course it had to be about love. But this one spoke to me, and it was just too close to my heart. Anyway, it's short and sweet. Don't be afraid to be the one that loves the most.
Aww.
I thought you were going to say, don't be afraid to be. I thought you were going to say, be first. Be the one to love first, which I think,
loves
both
the most.
ways.
Yeah. And you know what, for me, when I saw it is, we often think like, oh, I want to hold back my feelings, or I don't want to show too much, or, I'm going to guard my heart or whatever it is. But I think, the more I think about love, and I wrote a blog about it this morning, but the more I think about love, and, there's nothing wrong with putting your heart out there and loving people. And especially in this day and age, there's too much hard stuff to deal with that it's okay to put a little extra love out there.
Yeah. And you know what I find I'm doing, and you can call me strange. I don't know if the pandemic's done it to me or what, because I'm a loving individual, but I'm finding myself saying I love you to people that are just acquaintances. So I'll be at the grocery store, and it could be a woman I know, briefly, hi, how are you, kind of thing, from our kids being in school in grade 1. And I'm like, and she'll say, hi, Judy. And I'm saying, hi. And then nice day or whatever. And then love you. And she's like, but I'm doing that. And then I think that was kind of nice, actually, because it shows that I'm feeling something other than the anguish that sometimes I feel on every other given day. I'm saying I love you a lot more. And I don't hold back telling people I love them in my home and my family. But out in the street, this is something new. Look out.
Yeah.
I love you. Everybody, I love you.
Judy will be on the street corner telling strangers.
Yes. Well, I find because of the pandemic, and with all the rules and the restrictions and everyone having that little bit of fear, I'd have to agree with Judy that I'm being more vocal with my love and my word. I'm being more caring and loving with my words as opposed to physically, because to shake someone's hand or to give them a hug or a kiss, it's a little a little more risky during a pandemic. So I find that I too am being, more vocal with that, with my emotions.
I'm going to start that too. This is all new.
Well, but
everybody.
You know what though? And I was having this conversation with somebody, and you know what I miss? I'm not typically a real huggy person, to be honest. But I miss spontaneous hugs. Where somebody just kind of walks up to you that and you haven't seen in a while. And sorry, my puppy's barking in the background. I love him, but today is one of those days where I don't like him very much.
But it's spontaneous, Veronique. It's a spontaneous bark. You have to hand it to him. He's smart.
I know, but you know what's happening is behind. So he's on the treadmill behind me, and the treadmill looks out into my backyard. And so he can see his reflection in the window of the back door. And so he's barking at himself.
Oh
my goodness. Yeah. So anyway, but what I miss the most, and like I said, I'm not a typically huge huggy person. I miss spontaneous hugs, like people that you haven't seen in a while, or people that are, just kind of running into you somewhere. I miss those
Mm-hmm.
spontaneous hugs,
Yeah.
and it's that feeling of
Yeah.
joy in seeing someone,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mm-hmm.
the part I'm
Yeah.
missing.
Yeah. I'd have to agree
Interesting.
for sure. Definitely. There's lots going on. I watched last night. Now we had the Super Bowl. We'll touch on the Olympics as well. The Super
Mm-hmm.
Bowl was last night. And
Yep.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch it, but I did catch the last 5 minutes, and it was the most intense of like I'm pretty sure that if you were
Mm-hmm.
gonna miss any of it or catch anything, the last 5 minutes was just amazing. It was so close, and LA pulled it ahead with like under 2 minutes, 2 minutes
Yeah,
left in the
I
football
know.
game and pulled ahead. It was fantastic to watch. It really was.
It
Yeah,
was
I was
close
watching some of
too.
the
I didn't
highlights
watch
today.
it. I didn't watch it. What was it, 23-20? I mean, that's tight, and a first-time win in what, forever for the Rams in Los Angeles in
Yeah.
their own surroundings with all of their own fans and 80-degree plus weather. It was, I guess, sweltering there. Veronique, what
Yeah.
were your thoughts on the halftime before I go ahead?
Well, so of course the halftime show was like those really big artists from my youth, right? And so,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
like it was quite the show. And although they say, I mean, every time you see a big artist like that, they say it's the greatest show in history. But I think that's debatable over the years on some of the shows, but. I think it brought back all of those memories of being that wild kind of
Mm-hmm.
teenager and 20 something, and the rap songs and the feeling a little down and dirty kind of idea vibe, that kind
Yeah.
of vibe. So
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty amazing to see, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
incredible that they put it together.
Well, you know what's amazing too are the artists, Snoop Dogg, Mary J. Blige,
Hmm.
Dr. Dre, Eminem. I mean, those people are generally over 50 years old. And to see them perform with the agility they performed with, I mean, I would rather get beat upside the head with a 2x4 than listen to rap and hip hop on most days. I really, really don't like it at all. But I appreciate their talent, and I do love Mary J. Blige. And I love
Yeah.
her. And I find, like Veronique said, it's not my thing at all. So I can't even imagine people in their 80s and 90s going, "What the heck's this?" Because they're just not
Yeah.
into that rap and hip hop. But I have heard from so many people, in fact, everybody that I've talked to, including commentators on the Today Show, that it was the best ever halftime show. They say it's good every year or it's a wow, but I've heard repeatedly that it was the best. And I kind of don't agree, but I guess it's just because it's not my kind of music. That's why. That's all.
For me,
Yeah.
when Lady Gaga dove off a building for the halftime show, that was pretty
Mhm.
outstanding.
Mhm.
Or J Lo and Shakira, like,
Yeah,
Hmm.
I
oh
know.
boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, the music
Yeah.
was fantastic. I'm not disputing that, but
Yes.
I think there are so many iconic artists that have performed at the halftime show.
Hmm.
Like, it's become that, right? And there are so many
Yep.
iconic artists that have performed over the last number of years that you really just can't pick. I don't think
Oh,
the
well,
best ever.
it
No.
was
What I think
incredible,
was great
though.
about what was great about this one was that the way they had it set up, that of course, and I caught the highlights to find out what happened and who they had, was the way they had it set up. They were able to have more than one. They had quite a multiple of different artists that they were able to showcase.
Yes.
But I do want to
Yeah.
mention, like Mary J. Blige, like the energy that she had
Oh,
and the dancing and the moving. I would have
I
needed an
know.
oxygen tank when I was when I come off that stage, if that was me.
Oh,
Like, that was
yep.
insane. That was fantastic.
Yes.
And
Oh,
a
I
great
love her.
kudos to them for being able to pull that off,
Yep.
during all of this.
Yes.
People needed that. People
All
needed
of
to
them.
see that, and a performance like
Exactly.
that. So it was fabulous.
Exactly.
Fabulous.
They did an incredible job, is what they did. Yes. Hello,
Yeah,
Winston.
exactly.
Nice to meet
I
you.
know. I'm gonna introduce Winston. He
Yes.
is making his TV debut. There,
Oh,
bye.
hi.
Look
Hi,
there.
Winston, sweetheart.
That's Win.
Hi.
This is Winston.
What a beautiful boy. What a
And he
beautiful new
is,
baby.
yeah, he's a wonderful boy,
He hasn't
but
got a
he's
clue what's going on.
no, and he's
No.
all full of badness today.
Oh,
He's having a real puppy day.
definitely.
He's super
Yes.
so
destructive. Yeah, super destructive.
Oh,
He
my
ate all
goodness.
of the
Oh,
bottom of the blinds.
oh,
So yeah, oh yeah. And then we've managed to house train him, but in reverse. So now what he does
oh,
is he goes outside and he plays in the snow and he climbs the snowbanks and then he comes in and then he pees.
oh. Okay.
yeah, my friend's
Yeah,
dog's
Uh-oh.
doing
yeah,
that same thing. It's a year
yeah.
for that. My friend's dog's doing the same, but he's beautiful, Veronique. We're
Oh,
so happy to
man.
meet
He
your new
Gorgeous.
baby.
he is a
Yes. We'll
wonderful
have to
boy,
I
set up
and
a
love him.
play date.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
He loves new girlfriends, so anytime. But I
Okay.
figured since he was torturing the small stuffed animals in the room, it would be a good time for him to meet everybody. And then he crawled into my lap
Yeah.
anyway, so I didn't have a choice. But yeah, so
No.
this is our new baby Winston, and he is torturing his big brother Bud. But we are trying to work through that as well.
We love them. And my
Definitely.
dogs would have that little dog for
Yeah.
an appetizer. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Oh, no
Yes.
This
question.
is
Yeah,
true.
no question.
Yeah. Exactly. So we're going to move on to some Olympics, girls. Are you watching any of it? Are you catching anything? I just want to mention hockey. Hockey, the women
Hockey.
are playing for the gold against the US. So I'm
Okay.
like not going to miss that. I'm so excited because the US, the last time they were up against them, the US women did beat Canada. So this is like a
Right.
big rematch for them. So I'm excited to see
Maybe I'll
that
watch
part.
that. I might watch that then. But girls, out of all of them, like I just jotted down, there's alpine skiing, biathlon, bobsleigh, cross country skiing, curling, ice hockey, figure skating, freestyle skating, luge, the skeleton, the ski jumping, snowboard, and speed skating. Out of all of that, out of the mega amount of sports, which is your favorite to watch?
Probably the figure skating, just because when I grew up, I grew up with Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya
Mm-hmm.
Harding and like all of that controversy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was such a magnet, and Kurt Browning and all of those things. So it was such a magnet to watch figure skating at the
Yes.
time. But I wish I could snowboard. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I wish I could snowboard. Yeah,
Oh,
I
you're
really
kidding.
do. I also wish that I find the sledding there, the skeleton, terrifying, absolutely
I
terrifying.
know.
Like
Yeah.
it's just watching it is just it makes me nauseous because I'm just like, if they
Me
hit
too.
something, it's going to be like the end of them, right? So, but
I know.
yeah, I absolutely love the skill of women's hockey and men's hockey for sure, but women's hockey and watching the women just kick, booty and while wearing a mask. Let's add,
Yeah.
while wearing
Yes.
a mask,
Yeah.
right? So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by it. I'm not a diehard kind of Olympic watcher, but I am fascinated by all
No.
this stuff.
I love
No.
it. I love the ski
For
jumping.
me, ski jumping.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love to watch that.
Yeah. See, now for me, believe it or not, I love the speed skating. Like I could
Oh, I do
watch
too.
that. Their legs, their thighs, and their butt, and to be able to
Ah,
and the blades on the skates that are that long, and just be able to push through that and go, 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 go. I could watch that
yeah.
all day. Yeah. I
But
don't know
what do
what
you
it
think?
is.
I'm so proud. I'm so excited about Max Perret from Quebec that he took our
Yes.
gold. He has a gold for Canada, and it's in snowboarding, which Veronique would love. But the big thing about Max Perret is that he is a survivor of it's the Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. And he thought,
Mhm.
at 1.3 years ago, when he was diagnosed after all the rounds of chemotherapy and he had no muscle strength and he was ill, that he'd never even get to walk again, let alone be an Olympic gold medalist. So a big shout out
Yeah.
to him. I'm really, really, really proud of his gold. And we have just the one at this point, but we do have some, what do we have? Like 5 silver and 10 bronzes, I believe it is. It is what it
Yeah.
is, right?
No.
Yeah.
Well, just being able to participate in the Olympics, being able to be chosen
Yep.
to even go there. seriously.
I know.
That alone is an accomplishment as an athlete, I think, for sure. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just the
So
thing
what
with
about this?
the little girl. Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
we'll mention that there's the women's single skating there, and the drug testing, she was tested positive there, but they're
Yeah.
going to allow her to skate and compete, but they're not going to have, if she places in the top 3, they're not going to have a medal ceremony. So that part of it's going to be on hold, which I think is sort of unfair for the other athletes that place in the top 3 with her, if that's the case. I don't know what they're thinking. I think that has to do
I
with
don't.
the investigation not being done, but I'm not absolutely sure, but we'll have to wait and see how that all pans out.
Yeah, it's just real
Right?
quickly to me what she was, the substance she was taking, like, was, it's
Mhm.
known to be given for angina and vertigo, and what it does is,
Right.
if you take it as she did, a 15-year-old teenager, it can elevate your blood pressure and then it gives you more endurance, right? So who's doing this?
Right.
The sports teams, doctors? The doctors on the team must be administering it. I don't know, but it's, to me, very sad.
No,
She's 15 years old, that
no,
she would need that. She's an
exactly.
incredible, sensational skater.
No.
Yeah.
And she at 15, I don't think she would have the mindset to know to say yes to it and to be held accountable for it. Those in authority of her would, I think, be more held accountable in that situation. But we have a great show lined up for our viewers. We don't want you to go far. Get yourself a little drink and a little snack and come right back and join us after the break with more Have a Chat. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us here at Have a Chat. I'm your host today, Audrey Lynch, joined by my lovely and wonderful co-hosts, Judy Losier and Veronique Arsenault. Welcome back to a great show that we have lined up for you. And joining us now is our first guest, Leitha Turnbull. Hello, Leitha. How are you?
Hi, I'm well. How are you doing today? Happy Valentine's Day.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
Everybody's
we're a
in
little
red. It's
late in
great
our
to
red,
see.
but belated. Yes.
Yep.
Hello, hello.
Before we get into the meat and the bones of what it is we have for you to tell us all about, which is quite exciting for us, tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Who am I? Well, as you
Yeah.
already said, my name is Leitha Turnbull. I'm born and raised in Fredericton, New Brunswick. I like to call myself a purebred. I haven't ventured far from here since. I currently reside here. I'm a full-time stylist behind the chair at a salon called Mudita Hair Bar. I'm an independent stylist, so meaning I'm self-employed. And I also work as a technical sales educator for the brand company Redken. So I do that also on my side, which I absolutely love as well.
Ah,
Exciting.
great.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love everything,
Yes.
everything to do with hair and makeup and all that stuff.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about today's show. So, tell us, Leitha, when you kind of became interested in hairstyling, like, did you always know you wanted to be a hairstylist? And talk to us a little bit about running your own business.
Okay, well, funny you say that. I actually went to university after graduating from high school in 91. I actually went to St. Thomas. I thought I wanted to be a social worker. It's something I went, and after a few years, obviously it wasn't what I wanted to do. It just wasn't, it wasn't for me. So I've always taken an interest in fashion and hair. As a young kid, obviously, we played with our Barbies, we did them up, our dolls and whatnot. And I just had a glimpse of what the industry was like by going into the hair salon myself. I grew up in a family with my sister was a barber, and my uncle owned a barber shop here in Fredericton. So I just had that background as well. So it was just something that always interested in me. So after a few years of university, I went off of that route and I stepped into Atlantic hairstyling here in Fredericton in 1997, and I graduated in 98. I had to think about
So
that.
exciting.
It's been so long. I'm like, when did I graduate?
Yeah.
So
Well, you're
exciting. Love
talking
it.
about, she's talking about 1991 graduating. I'm thinking I have my baby then. So I'm not very old. Going back a few years. Um, Leitha, tell us, so you were talking about your styling and then your education component. When did you add on becoming an educator on top of your already established career in styling?
I worked a few years. It was when I opened my own salon. I worked for another salon for about 6 years. And when they decided to close, the opportunity arose that me and a few other business partners were able to open our own salon. So we did that. And a few years into that, just having the relationship and seeing all the distributors come in, I got to know people and I just always had a liking to it. I went to hair shows, always thought how great it would be to work
Nice.
backstage, go into salons and work. And when I first started with Redken, actually, I was an artist. So the difference between Redken artist and a technical sales educator, which is what I do now, is I have more of a one-on-one relationship with salons. So I'm working more directly with salons and with any new employees that come, anybody that we hire on, new educators. It's kind of like train the trainee. So it's something I really enjoy. It kind of gives me something another something inside my tool belt. I'm not always in the salon behind the chair. I like to switch things up. It's just the experience I get with it, the education that I have at my fingertips, and to be able to educate others is really rewarding as well. So it's amazing. I love it.
Beautiful. You can tell you love it.
Yeah, it's great. I've been with them for about 14 years now. I did take a break. I actually was an educator, or I was a facilitator at Atlantic Hairstyling Academy here in Fredericton. So I did that for a year. And when I did that for a year, I took a break from the Redken thing. It was just too much being in the salon, half part time, and being an instructor at the school. And then after that was done, after my year, I came back into it because I knew I missed it. I missed the people. And then, of course, all this nonsense started to happen, and then we weren't able to go see each other in person anymore. But thank God for technology, right?
Yes.
Leitha, my next question, it has to do with now you being an educator. That must mean that you have to stay on top of what's in style, what's current with the cuts and colors. So my next question has to do exactly with that. So what are you seeing as the newest trends right here, right now for 2022?
Well, I like to say my favorite saying is what is old is new and what's new is old. Everything that is old comes back again. So we're seeing a lot of the big volume hair. We're seeing a lot of undone texture, the curtain bangs, the really shaggy cuts. I have a few babes here behind me. You can see the volume and the texture. We're seeing a lot of blonde or some block colors. So we're just like pieces of pops of color, like this girl right here. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of that stuff. And of course, we're still seeing our regular trends, our classics like our bobs, but we're just putting more of a modernized twist on them. So basically, we're seeing a lot of warmer colors in our blondes rather than our cooler shades. We're going away from our cooler shades. So right here in this girl, you can see she's got some more warmer tones, like a balayage look with that money piece in the front, which you're seeing a lot of that in those pops of color as well that we're seeing.
That's pretty. I like that one.
Yeah, big hair. I like to say big hair is back, baby. Curls back.
Good.
Anybody who's got texture, embrace those curls. Like we have this man here, he's got his curls in place. So we really want to embrace those. Anybody that's got those curls.
When we think, so, the winter is so hard on our skin and, our hair and my hair is pretty dry most of the time anyway. And because it's so thick and curly, it just sucks moisture. But, any special tips for hair during the winter and how we take care of it?
Yes, 100%. So one of the biggest things is shampooing your hair every day. Our hair is made up mostly of protein and moisture. And when we're shampooing our hair every day, we're taking away a lot of that natural moisture. So that's when it tends to dry out. So we do have a lot of great products out there. Something with a moisture in it. So Redken All Soft is an amazing product to use. It's got that moisture in there. It's going to help really retain that moisture, give you lots of softness for your hair. And we're also seeing in a lot of the products now, we're seeing stuff that you're seeing in your skin products as well. So we have like biotin that you're seeing in a lot of stuff now. Argan oil, we're seeing that in some of our colors as well. So these are things that are going to go into your hair that are really going to help, either if you're trying to grow your hair with like your biotin and stuff like that, or as well as your moisture, which is really going to help retain the moisture levels in your hair, especially during these winter months. They can be really harsh. So you want to, depending on how, like the texture of your hair, I say finer hair, you might want to shampoo maybe every other day. Or if you're someone who has to shampoo every day, we love those dry shampoos. Dry shampoos are awesome for eliminating any oils in your hair, right? The best hot tip I have for that is to put them in the hair right away to eliminate any oils before they happen. And it's great for hat hair this time of year too. Sometimes we put hats on and we take them off and we look like a balloon. We can stick it to the wall. So by using these dry shampoos, it's really going to alleviate that too if you're wearing any scarves or hats or whatnot.
Awesome.
That's good to know because I do not wash my hair often. I don't have oily hair and I can go a long time between washes, which is great. As you said, you told us about why that is a nice thing to be able to do and the importance of our natural oils. Leitha,
Yes.
I'm sure there are people listening, men and women, that would love to know more from you. Some of the common mistakes that they might be making when they're styling and caring for their own hair. Can you enlighten us a little bit on things you see that they shouldn't be doing or some tips?
Yes, absolutely. So I'll touch on that again. The shampooing part, like doing that every day, is definitely one of the things. And also using the wrong products. I find a lot of people don't use necessarily what their hair needs, and that is a result of their hair not doing what they want. So it's always great to always ask a professional hairstylist what they recommend. I like to say I have a PhD. I'm a professional hairdresser because I can write prescriptions for people's hair, right? So that's why I'm
Love
here.
it.
So if you ever
Love
have
it.
any questions, ask your stylist what they think you should be using for their hair. And then another thing would be, and it does happen, relying on any like social sites to do their own hair. I know when we were off, Google and YouTube aren't, they don't pay big bucks to go to hair school. So sometimes those can lead to more damage than good. And in the long run, when it happens, and I'm not, dissing anybody that does it, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. But sometimes you're really going to fork out more money in the long run by having to have it corrected. So always just be cautious of what you are using on your hair and always buy from a salon. Sometimes products are diverted. Redken has actually spent millions of dollars trying to alleviate the diversion problem. So just make sure that if you're buying a professional product, that it's coming off of a salon shelf. Okay. We obviously want to support our small businesses, especially right now, more important than ever. So just make sure we don't know where they're coming from. Sometimes they're diverted. They can come from dumpsters actually sometimes. They're watered down. We don't know exactly what's in them and what their shelf life is. So that is always something too that you really want to be cautious of as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
That's fabulous information there, Leitha, for sure. Now, can you tell us a little bit? I recently seen you, I don't know if it was the front page or not, of the newspaper for an article regarding how the pandemic has affected our industry and all the struggles that go along with that. You being in Fredericton, I believe there was multiple shutdowns there. And just wondering,
Yes.
you know, a little bit about that newspaper article and what your thoughts are on how it has affected, you know, that the hair industry and the beauty industry.
Well, it's obviously it's affected the industry huge, especially small businesses. Like I was saying, I was a small business owner before too, having my own salon, and it's unbelievable just the amount of um, not funding that isn't available to these small businesses and the resources that aren't available. And especially for myself too, self-employed, it's very difficult. Sometimes there's so many restrictions, and some people don't qualify for some of these grants. Our goods and services, man, they have gone like through the roof. You can attest to this,
Yeah.
Audrey.
Yeah.
Any of our supplies, our tools, our color has really gone, inflation has really gone up. No matter where you're going, you go to the grocery store, you're spending $70
Yeah.
on a bag of groceries, right? It's the same with
Yeah.
our supplies. So it has really affected us. So I have actually, with a lot of thought and consideration, putting my prices up. It's always one of those struggles that you think about beforehand, because you don't know what is going to happen with it. You don't know if you're going to lose clients or whatnot. So I made the decision in the beginning of January, and I put it out there many months before to inform people, to warn them that I would be doing a price increase. I need this to sustain my own life, to be able to live, especially when I'm putting out so much money in buying my supplies. So I haven't had any repercussion from it yet. Most people are very understanding. They totally understand. They actually say, I think you should have done it a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are jumping on the bandwagon with it. I actually got a lot of feedback from that article. It was just a random somebody who saw me on Facebook and just approached me and asked me if she could interview me. And I had a lot of shares from it. A lot of people said thank you, because they actually took the initiative after to raise their prices. It's always scary to raise your prices, especially right now where the economy isn't the greatest. A lot of people aren't working and not making as much money. So, and we can't afford to lose clients. I know I can't. I'm always accepting new clients, and I really don't want to lose any. But it's just, it's your value, right? It's always what your value is. And if you're valued and you're worth it, they'll be back.
Exactly. Well, our industry, unfortunately, is notorious for not really charging as much as we should.
Absolutely.
Right out of the gate. So definitely, we're all the hairstylist and beauty industry is in the same boat. We only have less than 2 minutes left, Leitha, but I wanted to get from you before we go, what are your 3 must-have products in anyone's not medicine cabinet, but their hair cabinet?
Their medicine cabinet. I said we have a PhD, right? Okay, so I'm going to talk about a few that are out right now that just came out.
We have one. We have 1 minute.
Okay, so really, really quick, we're talking about big hair. So we have these fabulous new products, quick blowout and big blowout. So these are going to help speed your blow dry up, the time up in half. It's going to give you a nice cushion blow dry, a lot of volume. And the scent of this smells like candy. The minute you smell it, you're going to want it. Trust me. And another thing now you're seeing is 10-minute hair colors. Permanent hair color that covers gray. Anybody coming into the salon, a lot of people don't have time right now. So it's a great option for stylists behind the chair, or even as our guests who don't have that extra time. New Color Gels 10 is a great product. So if you're someone who needs that, ask your stylist all about it. So those are a few things, and as well as our dry shampoo. We definitely need our dry shampoo.
Awesome.
All great information, Leitha. I want to thank you so much for joining us today. So much information. It's just been great to be able to have you on the show. We'll have to definitely come back again, and we'll stay on top of all the styles and maybe even be able to show us little quick updos or something like that we can do at home.
Absolutely, 100%.
Again, thank you for joining us. We will be back after the break. Don't go away. Good afternoon and welcome back to Have a Chat. I'm your host, Audrey Lynch, with my co-host Judy Losier and Veronique Arsenault. And joining us now is our second guest, Peggy McLean. Good afternoon, Peggy.
Hello, ladies. Happy Valentine's Day.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yes.
Thank you.
Peggy, like you're very well known actually in the community of Miramichi. But just in case there's somebody out there watching that doesn't know who you are, give us a little bit about who you are personally, sweetie.
Sure. Well, I'm Peggy McLean, and I am a wife. And actually, because it's Valentine's Day, I will say that in June, my hubby Arthur and I will be married for 35 years. We have
Oh.
three. Yeah, I know. I'm like, how did that happen? But here we are. And we have three really incredible adult children. And we have two sons in law that are amazing young men. And we are grandparents, Gigi, as they call me, to two of the most sweet grandbabies that have ever walked the face of this earth.
Of
Of
course.
course.
Yes.
They are.
And they really
Oh.
are. They're just a joy. And other than that, I run my own business. I'm a mortgage broker. I'm a licensed mortgage broker here in New Brunswick. And I'm, fairly well involved in my community. I really, I'm very, very passionate about volunteering here in Miramichi. So.
Yeah.
Yes, that
Great.
you are.
Absolutely. And I've gotten the chance to work with you on so many committees, and, your dedication to the community is quite outstanding, Peggy. So thank you for all that you do. So take us back a little bit. So you've been on the show before, and for a variety of reasons, but in this particular case, we got to learn about the journey that you're walking through cancer diagnosis. And so take us back a little bit to when that all happened, and then we'll get to the good stuff after and how you're doing now. But start us off.
Sure. So I had noticed that randomly, it wasn't something that was long term, that I had some pain in my breast and I had a lump. And I thought, well, that's kind of odd. And it came on fairly suddenly. And it was probably a few weeks, maybe 4 or 6 weeks. And I thought, I should probably go see about that because it was getting large quickly and again, quite painful. So I did go to my family physician who did an exam and sent me straight to have a mammogram and an ultrasound done. That is the procedure now. And I'll tell you that the staff at the Miramichi Hospital are incredible. I cannot say enough about them. Dr. Miller was my radiologist, and his team, Chad and Kathleen, took such great care of me. And it was about a week, maybe 10 days later, when I did have I had my mammogram first, and then I had an ultrasound done. And I love that here in Miramichi, you have that done, you go away for about an hour, and you come back and you get your results right away. There's none of this waiting, which can be torturous.
Yeah.
And I really did not think that there was anything to be alarmed about. So, I mean, there's no history in my family. I thought that a lump, I thought cancer was soft. My lump was extremely hard. It was like a rock. I didn't think that cancer was painful. I had babies. So there was really nothing. I thought this was routine. So I went away and came back an hour later. And we're sitting in the waiting room, and Chad calls me in. And I said to my husband, I said, okay, we're going to get my results. Let's go on in. But then Chad said to me, I just have to check something else. So I went in by myself, and Chad had me again put my arm up over my head. We all know the routine, ladies. Had to put my arm up over my head, and at that point, he started looking underneath my arm and my armpit. Well, I knew immediately that there was something wrong. So he did what he had to do, sent me back out to wait in the waiting room, and I'm sitting there next to my husband, and I'm like, do I tell him or don't I tell him? Let's just let his life be normal for the next half an hour, however long it takes. So anyways, we did go in, and Chad was there and Kathleen was there, and Dr. Miller had come in, and he had told me, he said, it doesn't look good. And I knew from there what was going on. And I'll tell you, that was on a Thursday afternoon. He booked my biopsy for Monday. By the following Thursday, I had my results, and it was breast cancer. I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So things just happened really, really quickly from there. And, I'm grateful for that because as it turns out, the type of breast cancer that I have is one of the more rare, and it is extremely aggressive. So they treated it accordingly.
Incredible.
Well, that's beautiful. Yeah. It's so when you first sit down with the doctor, and we've all been in there, like you said, some of us go for those routine checkups. We do well, we should be doing our self exams, or we're
Yes.
sent for a mammogram, and we just walk in and think, I hope, it's nothing, but then
Yep.
again, how many times is it something? And I've had family members that have walked that walk, Peggy, that you've gone through. So when you first hear that word, even though you're prepared somewhat that it could be, what just goes flying through your mind immediately?
Well, I wasn't prepared because I really didn't think it was anything. So when it was when Chad called me back in and I saw that he was looking underneath my arm, I knew he was checking my lymph nodes. They clearly found something in the breast, and they were checking to see if it had migrated, if it had spread. So
Right.
for me, it was those few minutes sitting and waiting to be called back in so that Arthur and I could be given the results, knowing full well that the chances are that there is something there. And it really was just a minute for me to kind of take a breath and really be present in that moment and know, for me, from when we leave here, life for us as a family is going to change. So I'm just going to let him, just for these next few minutes, have that until your life is pretty much turned upside down. And it
But
was
then
it
the
was
little,
yeah, no, it was surprising, but I wasn't devastated. I can tell you that I didn't cry. There was
okay.
none of that. But that's my personality though, Judy. Like, I'm a type A personality.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well, if this is what it is, where do we go from here? How quickly can we get it done? And just start checking things off the list and off the box. Like, let's just do it. I'm that rip the Band-Aid off kind of girl.
That's a perfect approach, though, because some people, you cannot change it, right? So what do you do but move forward? And a lot of people cannot do that. So you dealt with it beautifully and embraced what was going on. And here you are today to share and talk about it with us. So blessings.
Yes. Yes.
Peggy,
And,
that's just it.
nobody
Go
wants
ahead.
to hear the words cancer. Nobody wants to face chemotherapy. You hear the stories, and chemotherapy is not a joke, So I went through that first from December. I started right away, started chemotherapy in December, and, had the PICC line put in and did the IV therapies. That's the chemotherapy that'll put you on the bathroom floor. And then finished that. And then a month after finishing chemo, I had my mastectomy and my lymph node dissection. And then, we thought everything was pretty good, looked pretty clear. Because when I first started, I'm like, I'm giving this 6 months and then we're done with this. We're going to move on. But then I find out that I need radiation. So for 5 weeks, every day, we're driving back and forth to Moncton to have radiation done. Then I'm told, well, there's a new therapy because of the type of breast cancer it is triple negative, that there's a new therapy, that there's an oral chemo, and I was one of the first, if not the first patients in New Brunswick. And I'm so grateful that I have a forward-thinking doctor, oncologist, and I started chemotherapy for another year. I took chemotherapy twice a day, just the oral at home.
Wow.
But I mean, still, it's chemotherapy. It was not, the first 6 weeks were rough. I got pretty sick. They had to do a dose reduction, but once we did the dose reduction, everything was pretty smooth after that. I did end up with had a couple of blood clots here and there, but hey, I ended up in the hospital. A lot of people don't know. I ended up in the hospital last March with a blood clot in my lung, but they took great care of me there too.
I love you.
I've known you for many years, Peggy, and I've never seen anything like this before. Like you were a fighter to begin with and a force to be reckoned with. So I don't doubt for a minute that cancer has picked the wrong person here for sure. To try and win this fight. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about, now that was the treatments and things that you went through, but there was a lot of side effects that went with that as well. Can you walk us through a little bit of those that I got to be, part of and help you get through as well? What was that like?
Well, of course, you assume that you're going to lose your hair if you're having chemotherapy. And that was one of the things that I did ask my oncologist the first time that we had met. I'd asked Dr. Harb, what are going to be the side effects? And he said, well, you'll lose your hair. It is that type and it's called the red devil. It's affectionately called the red devil. That is the type of chemotherapy that takes your hair. The thing that surprised me the most was probably how quickly you lose your hair. I had my first injection, and they do a cocktail. So it's 3 different types of chemotherapy at the same time. My first injection was on the 13th of December, and Christmas Day, I started to lose my hair. So that was, because I had asked the nurse at the time, I'm like, when should I start to see hair loss? And she said, any minute now. So that was a little bit of a surprise to me. And although I can be honest and say, I really thought I was going to be devastated by my hair loss, but I wasn't. I really wasn't. I mean, lucky for me, it was the winter time. So, I mean, I was just wearing toques all the time. The pandemic hit. So it's not like I was going anywhere. Nobody was seeing me. I think it would have been much harder because I am involved in the community, go to a lot of, dinners and galas and those sorts of things. And I think if that had been where I was at in my treatment, that would have been really difficult because going to those types of events would have been, because you dress up and what have you, and you style your hair and all those things. Lost my eyelashes, lost my eyebrows. That was a little tough because, it's hard to have facial expressions when you have no eyebrows and those sorts of things. So, I was lucky that Audrey she was just a doll. She came to my house on Christmas, on Boxing Day. She did my hair up. Kim Harris came to my house on Boxing Day and did family photos. So we would have some family photos with me with hair. And I know we had a stylist on before, and I know, Audrey, you're a stylist, and I can't say this enough. If you are unfortunately having to go through this journey, reach out to a stylist. Do not shave your head yourself. It is very dangerous to do that. You can nick yourself and end up with a really severe infection when you're going through chemotherapy. And a lot of people I see, especially in groups that I'm in, where they'll have their husband do it or they have their family do it. It's kind of cathartic or what have you. Do what I did. Grab a bottle of wine, take your kids to Audrey's, and then have her shave it for you.
Yes, we did. Yes, definitely.
Talk to us a bit about the effect it had on your family. I know your kids and I know your husband and and I know how close of a family you are. So talk to us a little bit about the effect of that on your family and how everybody's doing now. I want to get to that place in our conversation where we're talking about how great you're doing now, but I'd like to, I just what did it do? And I can't even imagine. So
well, thank you for asking that because, a lot of people think about the person who's actually been diagnosed, but not a lot of people think about the family. And I've said it to my family over and over again. The one thing that I did learn during this journey was I do believe that my diagnosis was harder on my family than it was on me. They felt helpless. It was tough for them to watch me go through the treatments, to not be well, to be very sick, to lose my hair, to the exhaustion and all the things like, my feet would crack and bleed and blister, my hands as well. Like there were a lot of things that were physical reminders to them of my diagnosis. So it really, really was hard on them. And, Erica, our youngest one, had said to me one day, she said, Mom, you stress us out. She was living at home at the time because I would still try to do things. Like I would still get up and try to make supper. And I would really try to struggle through it. And then there were times like I'd start to make supper and then I'd have to literally physically bend over to try to get a breath. And she would come out and she'd say, let me do it. Or Arthur would say, let me do it. I'm like, no, I'm going to do this. So she had to sit me down. She had to say, like, that stresses us out because we see how hard it is for you. And we know that you're stubborn. We know that you're tough and you want to do it, but please just let us do it for you. And that was one of the lessons that I learned too, was to allow people to let me do it. And not a lot of people know this, but my sister-in-law, Teresa, Arthur's sister, was just amazing through this entire journey. She would come up from St. John when I would have my treatments. She would come up either the day of or the day after. Oftentimes she would take me and she would stay with us. So while I was in those few days after, which are the most, your down days, we'll say, She would cook, she would clean, she would make sure I had all my meds. She would tell me it's nap time, and I'd be like, "No, I'm feeling pretty good." She goes, "It's nap time." So she was just an incredible force. She really helped. She really, really took great care of me. And so did Arthur and
A real
Leitha, and of
nurse.
course, Allison and Nick were. Yeah. For a
A
banker, she
very
makes a great
loving.
nurse.
No, but it's beautiful when you do have that family support, because a lot of people don't have that. They're going through it maybe on their own. They
Yes.
might have a person or a couple to reach out to, but when you're surrounded by love and positivity and that encouragement, it certainly helps with this huge struggle through it, right? Peggy, as I hear you talk, I think that we should all take this moment to count our individual blessings. And I know
Yes.
from talking to so many people, and like I said, people in my family included, that have gone through cancer, the small stuff, after a while, we talk about don't sweat the small stuff, but we actually still do. And I think, and you can
Yes.
talk to it, how your perspective change, your priorities have to change, because you're not in the same mind, body, and spirit that you were before it occurred. So am I right? Like, if the dishes don't get done today, and like you just talked about, the family pitching in, but for you
Yeah.
to sort of stay back and watch it all unravel and enjoy it, what are the little things that all of a sudden became huge, beautiful things?
Time with family, time with loved ones, time with friends. Like, those are the things that are really, really cherishable. And our
Mm-hmm.
son had been
Mm-hmm.
away, as you know, he lives in Vancouver. So from the time I was diagnosed to the time that I'd gone through all the treatments, I did not see him. I got to see him and his husband in September. And just being able to spend that time to unplug and be really present, that's really the important thing, to be present when you're speaking, regardless of who it is. Be present in that moment, be present with those people. That's really what matters. Those are the important things. Everything else is nice and what have you, but those really are the
The
important
quality
moments.
time, the quality
Yes.
time. That's enjoy every minute of everybody that we can.
Yes.
So before we go,
Absolutely.
Peggy, we want to swing things around and let us know how you're doing now. Things are on the upside, I'm guessing.
Yes, I'm feeling well and I'm
Okay.
healing well, and finished all my treatments the end of October, and we're just looking forward to a wonderful life.
Love it.
Yes, definitely. Definitely a feel-good story. Thank you for sharing it with us. And thank you to all our viewers who tuned in today to watch Have a Chat. We really appreciate you watching. Thanks again, and bye for now. Until next time.